But now we've got something where the capability is a little bit beyond our comprehension and understanding. So there's this rush to adopt, 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 and scale, scale, scale. This isn't another iteration we call a transformation. This is literally a moment that changes the way we think about and solve problems. Automating the way you used to do something is not innovative.
I think responsible AI is asking, why the F am I still talking about learning systems? That's what I think responsible AI is. AI is not going to make HR better until HR does better.
All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to HR Tech 2025. This is Bob Pulver from the Elevate Your AIQ podcast, part of the Redefining podcast network of shows. I think we're up to over 70 podcasts on the network. I'm very excited for this partnership with HR Executive and the HR Tech Conference. I am thrilled to be kicking off the first podcast from the Expo with two dear friends, Jess Von Bank and Jason Averbook from Mercer. Welcome, guys.
Thank you for having us.
It's awesome to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
This is cool, right?
Why do I feel like this is an SNL skit right now?
Like sweaty balls?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say.
This is going to be a good conversation.
Let's go.
Let's go.
So thank you both for being here. This is great. One of the reasons I wanted you guys here, not just because we're on similar sort of missions, but just the impact that I know you both are having, within Mercer and far beyond. And so I thought we could just unpack some of the great work that you guys are doing in the spirit of, hiring for skills and potential, hiring for, when you think about candidate experience, when you think about all the technology and investment that's been thrown in the talent acquisition space and just HR tech in general. Some have criticized that we're not seeing like this massive impact, an aggregate sort of return based on the significant investment that we've had. And I think AI presents us with a significant opportunity to sort of, rectify that. There's so much value to be unleashed. And part of this show is around AI literacy and readiness, making sure everyone is ready, everyone can tap into AI to achieve more, not just do things faster and be more productive on an individual level, but really elevate the team's effectiveness and organizational agility as they embrace AI and agentic and all of these, buzzword bingo kinds of terms that we're getting our arms around. But Jess, why don't we start with you? Just talk about some of the things that you've been doing, inside and outside of the professional realm in terms of AI literacy and readiness, really leaning into this concept of human centricity and, fairness and things of that nature that I think are just so critical for everyone, regardless of role, industry, seniority, to understand.
Yeah. Well, Bob, thanks for having us on. And it's really exciting to kick off this show with you and with this conversation because we're sitting here at an HR technology conference like we have year after year. And it's always a fun conference to come to see what people are buzzing about. And we also see sort of the branding and the messaging, the hype wagon sort of changes from year to year, but it always comes down to innovation. Where are we really able to drive change and actually change the way humans experience the workplace, our everyday lives, how we actually think of the concept of work? And I think even though we're still playing buzzword bingo with AI, I think this feels particularly compelling and maybe a little different. I'm hopeful enough to think that this one could be different because AI is probably the most powerful tool or capability to come along. Tech is tech. It can do amazing and wonderful things. We can design and configure it to do almost anything we ask it to do. But now we've got something where the capability is a little bit beyond our comprehension and understanding. So there's this rush to adopt, 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 and scale, scale, scale. And I think it is the right conversation to be having around governance and literacy. Do we really understand the full potential and power and capabilities of what this technology can do? And are we willing to pause and sort of this land grab and this rat race to turn it all on and rush to ROI? Are we willing to pause long enough to ask, what for? Like AI for what? Are we asking the right questions? Are we imagining the possibilities in the right way? Are we thinking about everybody who could be impacted and how? Are we willing to protect the right outcomes in the pursuit of outcomes? So I think it's an exciting time to be having conversations like you have every single day on your podcast around what could we do and what should we do and how do we measure progress in the right way?
Jason, what about you?
I would agree with everything that Jess said. I think that it's a magical time. It's a magical time because unlike, and I think Bob, like I think I was telling someone I've been at 20x of these in a row, which takes us from the Windows days to the client server days to the cloud days. And one might say we're in the AI days, but I actually don't think we are
What could you elaborate?
because I don't think it's another tech.
Oh, yeah.
I actually think it's a reset. And what I don't like about AI is that I think a lot of people are treating it as another tech. I think this is different. I think all of those other things, DOS, Windows, client server, cloud, have just been transitional technologies, incremental improvements to what we've had before. I think this is an exponential moment to rethink work, to redesign work, not just based on AI, but based on everything else that's going on in the world. Like the
Yeah.
fact that college educations are changing, the fact that governments are changing, the fact that trust is at an all-time low in all these places. I think it's our opportunity to reset, and I hope that we use AI for that, and we kind of stop the buzzword bingo of AI agent, blah 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 blah. But back to you said, or I think what Jess said, excuse me, why? Why? And if all we do is put AI on top of how we work today, you've heard me say this before, digital lipstick on an analog pig.
Right.
That's what I think we're doing. And that's what scares me about walking around the conference floor here and everything just having a .ai on it, just like everything had a .com on it before.
Right. I feel like, transformations that I've been a part of before, some of it just seems like the fundamentals of transformation, like people sometimes forget. Like it is really about people. It's about behavior change. It's about the right ways to incentivize people, and to your point, Jess, like what's in it for me? How does my role evolve? How do I evolve as a person, as a professional, working with this technology? And so you're right, Jason. I mean, it is unlike prior sort of technological waves because the technology is in some ways as complex and powerful as it is. It's almost still the easy part of this transformation.
And I don't think we should even call this a transformation. Because I mean, a transformation is oftentimes treated as a project.
Yeah.
Like I don't think we should call it. I think we should call this an evolution, and it's an ongoing evolution, and it's not going to stop. So I mean, A, I hope people don't think it's going to stop. B, I hope people don't think they're going to buy software and all of a sudden it's going to make them evolutionized or revolutionized or transformed.
Yeah.
And then three, I think we're in the, pick whatever analogy you want to, first inning of a baseball game, top of the first when it comes to this. So anyone that thinks that this conference, like I was not excited to come to this conference. I was excited to come to this conference,
Yeah.
but I wasn't excited to come to this conference because I knew what I was going to see, which was 500 vendors. And at next year at this time, there'll be 480 of them not here, and there'll be another 480 of them here. This has happened though. I mean, this is what's one of the benefits of being old. Like this has happened in all of the eras. And this is just the start of another one.
Right. So I remember posting on LinkedIn for this show 2 years ago when I wasn't going to make it, and I said, um, you know, I don't know, I made some joke like now with 289% more AI or whatever, and
Right.
I said everyone's going to have AI on their billboards and in their booths and stuff like that. But start asking the hard questions, and here we are, exactly 2 years later, and I still give the exact same advice, except now it's like 827% more.
Well, and I think
Yeah.
maybe if I mean, I'm going to tee something up for Jess because I'd love to have her talk about this. Is that this MIT study that came out a couple weeks ago that said 95% of AI projects fail. That whenever the F word comes out, we're in trouble. But 95% fail. Jess and I had lots of conversations on this. Is that the reason that they fail? I think is not because they have failed some test, but because our expectations weren't necessarily right. And that
Yeah.
maybe you can talk to that.
Well, I was preparing for a client engagement recently, and I always go to to their website and research a little bit about their company philosophy and how their code of conduct, how they describe their culture. And this particular company has a very clear mission statement to change the way the world solves problems. It doesn't even matter who the company is. I love that tagline, and I think that's the moment that Jason just described. This isn't another iteration we call a transformation. This is literally a moment that changes the way we think about and solve problems. And I think the biggest limiting factor is how we think about problems. I think it's the way we actually are wired to evaluate what needs to happen, all of the ways that we can do work, and then how we even define problems and then how we think about solutions. I think we're in that kind of moment. So to Jason's point with the MIT study, if we're not reporting scale and adoption and success, are we even defining it correctly? Scaling for what? Adopting by who? For what purpose? Have you changed the way people work? What are your measures of success? And so I think, again, our biggest limiting factor in this moment is how we think about problems, how we approach solutions, and how we define success. If every company could go back to the drawing board and redefine their code of conduct, this is how we're going to evaluate problems. This is how we're going to make decisions. This is our governance structure. This is how we prioritize use cases and pilots and how success might be defined and how are we wired to go back and optimize and reoptimize. You literally have to redefine the way your business operates if you're going to see AI quote unquote success.
Well, and just I know, sorry to interrupt, but AI is not going to make HR better until HR does better. AI is not going to make HR better until HR gets better. All of that stuff that Jess just said is HR's responsibility. It's not AI's responsibility. It's not the vendor's responsibility. It's HR's responsibility. And until HR steps up and does that, for us to count on AI to make us better it's a false claim.
Well, I also think any leader across a business unit, doesn't really matter the domain. They've got to educate themselves, right? They're part of the cohort. Well, really everybody that needs to become more AI literate and ready and mature. The leader needs to, is on the hook for that as well, right? It's going to help them. To your point, Jess, we're talking about augmenting our own, individual and collective human intelligence, in the right way. And people haven't. There were studies, I think, that just came out in the last week from both OpenAI and Anthropic talking about the use cases, personally and professionally. And most of them are not yet in the mature enough to do like the high value use cases that you're describing, where individuals and teams are making better collective decisions. It's still a lot of, is this even is this even agentic, or is it just automation and still individual productivity? Look at how much faster, I can save 5 hours a week. You can save this in your role, but take that up a notch. I mean, when I talk about, what's your AIQ? Yes, the assessment would show you individually where you are, but then you benchmark that against your team or maybe people in a similar role in other companies or whatever. And you need to understand where everyone actually is so that you all sort of move forward in a positive direction. You don't have, one cog going 10x where everyone else is sort of, falling behind. I mean, if you're going to streamline, workflows and you're going to disrupt or take tasks that are typically, if you can take like over 50% of the tasks off someone's desk, then how are you going to redeploy them and reutilize that savings and redeploy that into higher value activities? We talk about that on a conceptual level, but people really need to take that in heart and to heart. And to your point, Jess, like think about if the incentives need to change in order to account for that.
So here's a couple of things that drive me nuts in this conversation, and I just thought of both of them in what you just said.
So basically, what she's saying is what you just said drove her nuts.
Ouch.
I want to talk
It
about.
happens to me all the time, by the way.
I've noticed that.
I'm totally on board with AI literacy. 100% on board with AI literacy. But again, our biggest limiting factor is going to be how we imagine the value of AI in the long run. And to assume that we need like all of this user adoption, we all need like hands-on keyboard, operator running, like we all don't need to be expert users of AI for AI to change the way we live and experience the world and the workplace. AI is a more powerful technology than just being my personal assistant.
Absolutely.
So yes to AI literacy, but we're not thinking big enough, we're not being bold enough. If our biggest measure of success is how many jobs we can displace, you're not asking the right questions. We're not actually reimagining work if we're all bragging that AI just took over the TA function.
Agree.
And now we can find and hire and place people faster than ever before because we just automated the way we find and hire people. Automating the way you used to do something is not innovative. It's not innovative. If we're completely reimagining the way people and opportunities even define themselves to each other, now we're talking innovation.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess when I think of part of literacy, I think of um, it's like this enlightenment kind of process where someone's like, oh, I wonder if I could use it for this. I wonder if I could use it for that. And so part of it is just igniting the curiosity and the creativity
Yeah.
of the workforce, but obviously do so in a responsible way. I just feel like if people don't know what AI is capable of, or they make assumptions about what it's
Right.
capable of, you're gonna otherwise you're gonna get a lot of shiny objects as we have in the market today. To your point about half these vendors or more won't be here because they just didn't solve a real problem.
Well,
Right.
and just really quickly,
Yeah.
I want to just add to that. So I'm hoping that these vendors are still here. Like I'm not wishing that they're not,
Understood.
but I'm hoping that they're here and they're actually not just doing HR the way it's always been done with a little sprinkle of AI.
Right.
I'm hoping that they are actually helping organizations ask the question of why is there an HR department? Why is there a talent acquisition function?
Yeah.
Why do we do performance management? Why do I still have to have a learning management system? That's what I hope that they're asking, not how do I have a learning management system with a sprinkle of AI on top.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Um, I feel like the ecosystem may naturally just shrink just through consolidation and people wanting to, embed some of the more modern technology. We'll talk about a perfect example of my next guest with SAP and smart recruiters. Like, you're combining forces of, a tried and true system of record, established but still innovative, huge company with, the innovation and the talent acquisition expertise and the candidate experience sort of obsession. And no, it's so naturally I think some of this stuff will consolidate, but you've gotta prove that you're a trusted, party in the ecosystem, that you are, being responsible by design. I tell vendors all the time. And so I think there's just tremendous opportunity. I do think I always have trouble with this wearing my responsible AI hat on and then being an innovation guy, but
Yeah.
I think responsible innovation, as we've talked about, is I think a good phrase. But you've got to, yeah, you've got to basically be able to play defense and offense.
I'll just two quick sentences on the acquisitions and consolidation. That's only exciting to me if it's about infrastructure. If we actually see consolidation to lock down infrastructure and data layers, that's when it gets exciting. If it's all about flashy applications, don't care, move on. But I think this could be a bit of an innovative strategy play. That's the hopeful side of me on what we've been seeing lately.
I'm encouraged based on
Yes.
what I read. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and Bob, what I was going to say is, I mean, we're in Las Vegas, right?
I think so.
Okay. And I may be smoking something. Hope not.
Just walk by it and
Oh yeah, I've
you'll
just walked
absorb it.
outside.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. But I like, and I'm gonna push on this. I think responsible AI is asking why the F am I still talking about learning systems? That's what I think responsible AI is. I know that's not what you mean by it, but I think that it is irresponsible AI for us just to take and, as Jess said, add an AI sprinkle on top of a system of record. I think that's one of the most irresponsible things we can do as an industry, and I think it will collapse the whole space.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely fair assessment. It is fundamental. It can structurally change everything that we're doing, and we have to, if we're going to redesign work, we've got to question why some of these things exist. Are they part of the solution, or are they part of the problem?
Bob, but like, I'm sorry to get so passionate, but
Please.
like, this is not a it can do it. Like, it has to. Like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why people don't realize that we're in a crisis mode. Like, this is COVID again. Like, COVID made us do a lot of stuff really fast without thinking. And I don't mean being stupid, but like, the crisis mode is that the job markets are stalled. Everyone's looking for savings. All of our cloud systems, people are saying, aren't providing value. Like, we have a lot of stuff where people are like, guys, this is a moment. So it's not that it can, it must. And if we don't push on the must, who's going to?
That's a pretty good
I
mic
have
drop.
no rebuttal for that. Well said. Jason, your passion is why I love you and why you're here. I don't want you to hold back. So thank you for not sugarcoating that.
No. Sure.
Guys, thank you so much
Yeah.
for being here with me to kick things off. This was great. Always great to see you guys. Enjoy the events.
Well, and
Hope-
like,
Yeah.
thank you for the work to find podcast series,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Absolutely.
doing amazing stuff to help. I mean, part of education is the work that they're doing
Yeah.
from an education standpoint. And thank you to HR Executive for hosting,
Yeah.
everything related to these podcasts, because this takes what used to be a conference that people had to come to and now makes it, an always on channel for life. And I think that is going to be a huge value add. So thank you for what you're doing to help serve as part of that education layer, and thank Workdefine for what they're doing and actually making the space something that's more meaningful than just a conference.
Absolutely. Thank you guys again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.